Welcome back, and oh my gosh, what a beautiful way to start. I mean, I know there's reflection and it's an old video, but Normandy and that train ride into Bayeux for our tour of Normandy this day was just absolutely gorgeous. It was so amazing. I can't even tell you how much I cannot wait to go back. I want to spend so much time here. This was definitely the highlight for my trip in 2017. Cheers, dolls. I'm the motivational pinup today, sharing the travels. I love sharing travel stuff along with my other content because I love to inspire and motivate people. And seriously, traveling is so empowering and so inspiring. So glad you're here to watch this video. I know it's older, but I'll explain in a second. First, this is a street sign. This is a street sign on the side of the wall, this little placard up here, and it is named after the 101st Airborne Division of the United States Army. You guys, there are so many dedications like this throughout all these little towns and along the beaches. There's so much respect and gratitude to the American forces and the Allied forces for World War II. It's just incredibly inspiring and humbling, and it makes one proud, and it's just, it's intense, but in the best way. Like, it's the best. Of all the places that I've been to so far, this is definitely one of my favorites. The people were so kind. The sights are incredible. Now, of course, in full disclosure, I have a lot of respect for the greatest generation, for everyone who fought in World War II, people who are sung like Easy Company, and people who are unsung. And I don't presume to know everything there is to know about it. Just know that I have a lot of respect for the entirety of that generation. Now, obviously, they're not a perfect generation, okay? So a quick sidebar, I have, hashtag vintage style, not vintage values, okay? I have an appreciation for the bravery of people, the women, the men, the people of color, all the background that isn't talked about, like the camps and such that we even had in America. Like, this is a whole other topic, okay? So what I am specifically talking about in these videos is just my appreciation for the people who fought and served here and the amount of loss and gruesomeness that was involved. Okay, so please don't come at me. We're just talking about these sites. We're not digging any deeper. Okay, cool. All right, I love everybody. So as you saw a little bit earlier in this video, there is a monitor in this minivan kind of thing that we were riding in, and every time we rolled up to a new site, our tour director Aurelia would play these videos, these interviews of people who actually served at these sites. And it was incredibly, well, it's probably the best way that you can help people connect to the site, because you can sit here and you can look at these, dedicational monuments. You can see remnants of war damage. You can, you can see things, but when you see the people and you hear it from their own lips, even if it's only in a recording, because sadly that's, where we're at right now, and how much time has passed from World War II and how many people have passed away. When you see at least people talk about it, it helps, I think, really connect us to the site and to the events. It makes it more personal. You get attached to the person. And yeah, so I'm going to let you watch for a minute. I'm not going to say anything. There's a few captions. I think that works. I don't think much needs to be said. It was dreary off and on the entire day until we got to the American Cemetery, where it actually lit up and was just gorgeous. So here we are entering the little township of WWII, and then not long after this, we actually come into Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. And it's actually just, it's really incredible to see how little has changed in these locations. I think they're charming and beautiful, and just, I think it's incredible. And seeing the before and after photos, it's interesting because I saw more just that things were repaired, not necessarily that things have been modernized. So it was really incredible. You can look up information. I am not going to share all kinds of details about the history of these locations. If you want to look it up, again, it's Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. And this is one of the locations that the 101st Airborne Division liberated and took control of, and it's amazing and wonderful and beautiful, and it was incredible. I know that just inside the church there is this really incredible picture of them sitting in a mass inside of this church. So I believe the church is around the same age as many of the others in this area, so 13th to 15th century at the most. Actually, it might even say on that little placard sign as you start to enter the church. But take a look at this beautiful location.
Well, actually, that comes from a hedgehog, a Czechoslovakian hedgehog. The hedgehog was one of the defenses they would put on the beaches. The Germans put that on the beaches to stop the landing crafts to land. And actually, the farmers, after the war, used the hedgehogs, the defenses, because they needed things, they needed steel also.
Before we reach Utah Beach, we actually come around to Brickell Manor, which is a really important area. If you've seen the show or not, there were these artillery guns, these massive German guns in this field that were aimed at Utah Beach. And it was really imperative that these were disposed of so that the 4th Infantry, if I'm remembering that correctly, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But so the 4th Infantry could advance with not only all the people, but also all the gear that the Allied forces needed. So there was so much that came in from Utah Beach. And this right here is actually the house for Brickell Manor, and it was used for German headquarters at the time. And this is the field. This is that location where the guns were. And our wonderful tour guide here, Aurelia, shows you right there, like, these were where all the guns were. They were all pointing in this direction. And it was really nice having having that directional aid so that you have an idea of where you are and where you're headed. So she was showing us where the guns were and how they were aimed at a specific direction so that we knew that in front of us where we're heading was, in fact, Utah Beach. So incredibly humbling to stand here especially at this amazing dedication for specifically Easy Company. And when you stand here, of course, you look out over that field, basically facing into the way the guns would have been facing. So you would have been looking towards the barrels, if that makes any sense at all. And it was just incredibly humbling to stand there, to know that Mr. Winters, as you see here, along with these incredibly brave people, this small pack of people came in and just completely wiped out these guns, which was such an incredible need for the people of Utah Beach. This is the Richard D. Winters Leadership Monument that is actually not just a dedication to him. The people who erected it really wanted it to be about him specifically, but he only agreed as long as it was actually a dedication to junior officers and junior men, because he was a leader through and through and wanted nothing but the best for everybody that he worked with, and he really saw himself as a servant, and that is true leadership, someone who serves the people. So here we are at Utah Beach. She points out here in a second that the building to the right, a little bit taller, it is actually part of the original structure. A lot of it is still original. So what they did is then they built on and added to that to make the museum here at Utah Beach, and they made it look like a bunker because there really was a bunker here. There's a lot of bunkers all over the place. There's demolished bunkers, there's pieces of bunkers, there's bunkers you can still walk into. So there's a lot of stuff that still remains here. It's pretty incredible. And one of those things that remains is one of the few last Higgins boats. And if you don't know, a Higgins boat is what they used to bring the troops and their gear onto the beach. And this perspective right here, if you look inside of that box, that is showing you specifically the angle in which the Allies were advancing from the beach. So there are a lot of monuments, a lot of dedications. At the beaches, they're a lot larger and point out more specific things. And then throughout the towns, there's a lot of plaques and a lot of monuments as well, specific to those areas, thanking whomever came in and actually liberated that particular town. It's pretty incredible and remarkable, and I don't think I can say humbling and inspiring too much in this video, but yes, it really is that. It's really interesting. I didn't really pay attention enough to notice or think about it until I started living in the county of Henrico, and you can see on that placard, on that monument, there was a ship that is the USS Henrico. And after editing and going through this video, I was like, wait a minute. So I did some research and looked into it. It turns out the Henrico is a pretty badass ship. It served here at D-Day, then it was called in for the Pacific, and it was called back in for Vietnam. So it's really interesting to see just how, I don't know, I can't really describe it. It's interesting to see how ships will come in and out of service and serve at different places. I don't know why, but even though I know the ship itself isn't a living entity, I sit here and I look at it like, wow, like it's its own member of the crew, like it's its own entity, even though it's not. And I'm like, look what you did, and when really it's, look what the sailors did with you in that location. But it's just this weird perspective of mine, but it's what it is. So parts of this remaining bunker, as you can see, have some dedication in it, and it's just, like I said, this is everywhere. All this stuff is everywhere. It talks to you about the dates and what happened and how many people and what devices were used, and it's just such an education, and it's incredible. I did mention bunkers, right? So here's some of the bunkers that you can't really go into. They're not safe, but you can still see them all over. And it's really, I can't even, when it comes to the level of dedication from the people of Normandy, who actually don't want to get rid of any of this stuff, because for them, it's more it's more about what they overcame and what the forces did to help them overcome, you know, World War II. So it's just incredible. We are coming into the town of Saint-Marie-Glaise. This was a pretty intense fight to take this town by the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment. I don't remember how old this cathedral is, but I can tell you that there's this really cool remembrance kind of dedication, I guess, in a way, to paratrooper John Steele of the 505th, who, when he jumped, actually was stuck up there. His parachute was stuck, and he could see a lot of the fighting between the Germans and the Allied forces down at the base, and it took a while for the Germans to realize that he was actually alive. And of course, the 505th did take the town. I don't remember exactly when. I feel like it was maybe the 7th, but please don't quote me because I don't remember off the top of my head. But this town was really, really beautiful, and it was really interesting. Later on in the video, you'll see, just in a minute actually, you'll see some damage on some stray munition damage that was on the fencing and on some of the housing. So when I say they really are preserving history, they really, really are. So it's quite incredible. This is where we stopped to have lunch for the day. It was absolutely perfect and incredible, surrounded by pictures and artifacts from World War II. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. My aim is to help share with people how impactful travel can be, and I can't wait for you to see part 2.